If I had one final message, I would say it all starts with your personal integrity. John Maxwell asked me an interesting question. If you had to put in one short sentence your legacy, what would you want it to be? My grandfather was a man of integrity. Guard your integrity, keep growing, hang with the champions. I want to be known as a man of honor, a man of integrity, to call the champion out and others.
Love it. Coach, it's just such a joy to be here with you. Every time I'm with you, I don't know, it just lights up my life.
Hey, buddy, I apologize. I didn't bring a Big Mac for you, though. McDonald's Big Mac.
So,
I know that's all I fed you when you were in Florida, but hello, come on.
Okay, so Coach is, my mentor. You're like my spiritual father. We're together multiple times throughout the year. And we're talking about one. I want to give a couple of background stories, okay? Okay. One was that you and I love the outdoors.
Yes,
but
we do.
I have a special passion for bass fishing that I've been trying to pull you in. You've done some salmon, you've done some deep sea, but I'm trying to pull you over in this. And so Florida is known for like bass fishing.
Lake Okeechobee, baby.
Lake Okeechobee. I'm like, Coach, I've been dreaming. I get there and I show up that morning and you have a guy getting live bait, Coach.
Well, I didn't know. I'm naive. I was a rookie at this thing, you know?
And so I'm like, Coach, artificial lures.
I had some worms, but that wasn't enough.
You had a can of worms. Now, the other part to the story is we were there for 3 days. And the first morning you drove us down there. You had me taken care of, and you took me for breakfast to McDonald's.
Well, they make a great little breakfast sandwich, egg sandwich.
Good. I said, we got different options, pancakes, different stuff. Then at lunch, we went back to McDonald's.
That's true.
Okay. The fourth trip to McDonald's, Coach, I'm like, are we going to Pizza Hut?
You're in Okeechobee, brother. What are you going to go? We don't even have a steakhouse there. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, McDonald's like top of the food chain in that area.
What is one of your staple items? Let's be honest. You don't have a wide palate, Coach. I mean, people don't realize this. How old are you now?
I'm 80.
80 years old.
80 years young.
And French fries has been the key.
One of the major keys. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and Krispy Kreme donuts will give you long life and strength.
It's vitality.
It's it, baby. It's it.
So I'm going to tell one more funny story. You and I, we were bird hunting, okay, and so ducks and different stuff. So we camo's important, right? And you had some like old camo that was like from like Army, Navy or whatever. It was like handed down from past wars.
It was probably 2 or 3 generations old.
It's like the pattern and the style. And I was like, Coach, I'm going to get you some upgraded stuff because like everything, there's some new kind of in vogue camo. And I just want to get you some.
By the way,
stuff.
son, you have taken me to a new level.
I've taken you to a new spot. That's called reverse mentoring, right? And so you're offering, and I'm like, Coach, I'm bumping you up. So then I got you looking so good, you felt sorry for me. You like, I want to upgrade your stuff.
Right.
And so you're like, I want to get you something. And I was like, well, Coach, you don't have to. And he's like, no, I'm going to. And so we were there at the little lodge and we're hanging out. And so you're just like, well, what size do you wear? And I looked at you and I was like, well, I think I can wear your pants.
Well, the reason I asked that is because I wear an XL, and I thought surely you wore a double XL. I thought you were a double X for
You're
sure.
putting a double X on me.
I was.
And so I said, well, Coach, I can wear your pants. Of course, it's just us guys there. So you take your pants and I put them on. They button just fine. And you look at me and go, oh, my goodness, I've gotten fat.
That's right. I had no idea it was that big. Here's the problem. You and I weigh the same weight, but you're about 4 inches taller than me. So who's the fattest? I'm the fat guy. So I moved up from one of the executives up to a vice president's role in the big man's club.
But you know what? I got you your lead to win pullover. Look at that. It's dark.
Man, looking good.
A guy told me the other day.
By the way, black is slimming.
No, that's what.
Big men don't wear other things than dark color. Don't wear the pastels. Certain pastor friends of ours wear the pastels and the light blues. No.
So you know the old statement, never ask a big man if he went on Ozempic. He just got a darker shirt. Okay.
By the way, before we get started, I want to say I love you.
I love you so much.
Appreciate
Coach.
being with you. Appreciate all that God's doing in you and through you and at Milestone Church and Lead to Win ministry. It's just blown it off the charts what God's doing, and I'm honored to be with you today. So I just want to
Coach,
get that
like what I love about this format, so we actually have pastors, leaders, but we also are getting. I got an email from a teacher the other day from a superintendent, a coach. You think about business leaders and people in school systems, like they're managing relationships, parents, people. So what I love about this format is you and I, we spend so much time together. We love being together. We have the greatest time, but we also will have, out fishing or out at a camp or whatever we might be doing, a ministry trip. We've done some of those. Well, we get to sit at night, and I get to pull things from you. One thing I really respect about you too is we'll be in the room. Here you are, for those who don't know you, you were a football coach. Then, really an amazing thing happened on a trip to Israel. I mean, you had this encounter with Jesus where he called you to be a pastor. You're like 40 years old, I think, at that time, right?
About 38.
38 years old. So here you make this big step. You start Christ Fellowship. Of course, your son Todd now leading that, multiple campuses, 30,000 people, just amazing. But I'm able to glean from you. What I love about you is you also, though, love putting yourself around younger leaders. Because many times I'll ask you, Coach, share something with everybody. But then you find you're always there too, learning and gleaning, and you're still learning at 80 years old.
I think that's part of leadership. You're always learning. You never arrive. Mm-hmm. And I'm gleaning so much from you and others in your area of life right now in ministry. God's showing you things and revealing things to you, and you're finding things out through your own implementation of practice. And I love to learn from you and what you're doing, what God's doing at Milestone, what God's doing through your Lead to Win conferences and interactions and mentoring of leaders. And leadership principles, they transfer to all levels.
Yeah.
I came out of education. I came out of coaching, and I realized that leadership principles I learned in coaching transferred right over into ministry.
Right.
And the things we're learning, our leadership principles in ministry, transfer right back over into the business world.
Right.
So that's what's great about this.
It's really a lot of times I think we segment. Obviously, there's a calling in ministry that is unique, but we're still all called. And I do believe that there's not as much separation between the football coach, the pastor, the business leader, the teacher. Like we're all working through how to help others get better, build a good team. I mean, a lot of the stuff you talk about in your book.
The very first chapter in my book, Coach's Playbook, is talks about how to lead like a coach.
Yeah.
Because if we're not careful in business or whatever we are, we'll fall into the boss mentality. Mm-hmm. And there's a big, I contrast like 5 major things between how a coach would lead versus how a typical boss or leader would lead in an organization. And, we don't hire people to do a job. A boss does that.
Right.
Coaches recruit people to be a part of a team.
There you go.
So we start right off with a team concept,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, we're demanding a certain level of performance out of you from a boss's perspective, whereas coaches, we're trying to inspire and call the champion out in you.
Love it.
So you will produce your very best.
That's right.
Not only for yourself, but for the organization. And there's a contrast, but that fits whether I'm a business leader, I'm a ministry leader, I'm an educator.
Right.
It all works.
Yeah. So just to kind of go back, a lot of us that love you so much, myself, you're a spiritual father and a coach to me. We actually really have been wanting you to put some of these things on paper. And this book, the Coach's Playbook, available at Amazon. We at the Lead to Win resourcing. See, one of the things we feel called to do is resource leaders, and we want to make sure this is available for us to resource anyone out there listening in the Lead to Win space. But I really keyed in on and I got the book. The book, by the way, too, I was just telling you, it's so nice, man.
Feels
it's
good,
real
doesn't it, baby?
Coffee
Feels
table
good,
kind of Coach's Playbook, 10 game-changing lessons for young leaders. your grandfather, which you've also written another book about wisdom from him, but we're not focusing on that. But if someone wanted another resource, that's really good. But you talk about your grandfather, who was a pastor.
Yes.
And he was a huge influence on you and really shaped you.
Yes, he did.
And then now you step into coaching, then you step into pastoring, and there wasn't like a coach's playbook out there.
42 years ago when we launched into ministry, Maxwell wasn't writing any books on leadership.
Right.
There wasn't books written to really help us navigate. I planted a church and had no clue what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fumbling around trying to figure out what to do, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. What can I carry over? I grew up in a very traditional model of church,
mm-hmm.
and never was in a church, Jeff, of more than maybe 100 to 150 people.
Right.
So I didn't really understand the dynamics. But finally, I came to the realization, wait a minute. What worked for me in coaching will work here in ministry if I learn how to apply that, because it's all about calling the champion out in people.
Yep.
It's all about getting the team aligned in where their strengths are,
mm-hmm.
celebrating them, and then we have a common goal that we're trying to achieve. So we came up with a mission statement, we came up with our goals, came up with our objectives, and I put together a game plan, and just like I would in coaching.
Yeah.
And I had nobody there to coach me. I wish I had somebody to come along and say, yeah, son, that's good. No, don't go down that trail. You're going to have to back up from that, because I had to back up.
You had a little bit
of
trial and error,
oh,
didn't you?
my gosh. Man, that didn't work. But the one good thing about being a coach, because every week your score is posted on a scoreboard.
Yeah.
So everybody knows your wins and your losses. And you had to then do a press conference after your wins and losses.
Uh-huh.
So you got to be very open about it and go. So that actually helped me to go to our people. Well, that didn't work. Hey, I believe God's leading us, but if that doesn't work, well, that didn't work, gang. But you know what? We're going to get a new game plan. We're going to call an Omaha, Pink Man in Omaha. We're going to change the play.
Audible.
And we're going to call it audible and go run this play. So our people kind of grew up with that atmosphere, and then we tried to build into our culture, Jeff, at Christ Fellowship from the very beginning, an attitude of that we're all coachable.
Right.
And I want to remain coachable.
That's so good.
And if you create a culture where everyone's coachable, then you're not correcting people all the time. You're coaching people all the time.
So you actually, this book's at Amazon. We're going to make it available through Lead to Win. John Maxwell is your good friend and was part of the teaching team at Christ Fellowship, and so their publishing company. So this book, But you give the subtitle 10 game-changing lessons for young leaders. So what you're really doing is you're saying there was a void there when you were a young leader. You had your grandfather, but you really had to what you're wanting to do is deposit something in the generations coming behind you.
Exactly.
Which I think is beautiful, that they could grab a hold of something. And I'm just praying for that, Coach, because you've been so impactful in my life. I'm just praying for this book. I'm just praying that it just gets in the hands of those young leaders, that becomes a deposit for them that's game changing. But you said something I think is so being coachable, being that. And I've been recently teaching our team a lot on curiosity, because I think those go together. Coachable people are curious. There's no replacing that player, that student, that business leader who's coachable and curious.
Yeah, because you always want to get better and you always want to learn.
Yeah.
So one thing I learned that was so in coaching, I would go every year to hear the national championship coaches wherever they were speaking at clinics. I wanted to learn from the best.
I love it.
I wanted to see what could I learn from them. I remember when Ohio State won a championship years ago, I went up and spent 3 days with the coaching staff in spring practice. Yeah. I wanted to know everything, how they taped their ankles, to what they did, everything. What can I glean? What can I take back? I went to the Cincinnati Bengals training camp, took my whole staff. I want to learn. Here we go. And when you keep that tone and that attitude, then you're always hungry to learn.
Yeah.
I'm here this week with you at your Learn to Lead conference. I'm hungry to learn.
Yeah.
I brought my notepad. I'm ready to go, baby. I'll be taking intense notes. I'm going to be looking at what can I do, what can I apply, what can I learn, what can I reinforce to be a better coach and mentor myself, and make a deposit into the emerging generations that they will be able to carry on and deposit into the generations coming behind them. My grandfather and my great-grandfather deposited this passion for God and for Christ and for the church into me.
Because even when you were a coach, you were interim. You and Miss Donna were always a part of church. Y'all were serving, leading music, whatever it might be. You were engaged in your local church, even when you were coaching, which isn't easy.
That. We understood that completely. Matter of fact, I got to tell you, I got an email about 2 months ago from a former player of mine that played for me in college, and 50 years ago. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm this old. Unbelievable. But I'm just, God's given me great life. I love it. I want to have the spirit of Caleb. You know, he was 85 when he said to Joshua, hey, give me my promise. Back when I was strong as I was when I was 40, give me the high country. So
there you go.
I'm claiming the spirit of Caleb on me in Jesus' name.
Amen.
But anyways, he emailed me and he said, Coach, I want to thank you. I don't think I've ever thanked you for leading me to Jesus.
Wow.
As I was reflecting over my life, it's made all the difference in my life, my marriage, my family, my business, is because you led me to Jesus and I never thanked you. Wow. When I read that, I wept. I just wept realizing, what a blessing to know that in some way, because I know I was very intentional, even as a coach, to look out for the welfare, the spiritual welfare of the men that I had under me in the program, and tried to model the right example and talk to them about what it meant to have a personal relationship with Christ. I had the freedom to do that at the college where I coached. And but it's always been an integrated part of who we are. And I think my grandfather modeled that passion for me, and I couldn't escape that passion for the things of God and all of that. What I wish I'd had more coaching on was how to really, in the church world, how to really build the church. And it took me a while to understand that I'm not Superman. You've got to have key partnerships. You've got to have key relationships. You've got to learn how to empower your teams. You got to learn all these principles that we kind of unpack a lot of these in the book.
Right. What would you say? I mean, I hear you grabbing some of these principles, but we're catching the idea of be a coach, not a boss.
Right.
I mean, I think team, if you had to say one thing for anybody listening, if you're a young leader, think coach, think you need coaching, be coachable, be curious. But I think building team, like if I were to say, what could get you promoted, get you, I mean, it's like team. It's like learn. Most people are
and it's understanding how to recruit the right team.
Right.
Because you can recruit someone that seems to have the skill set that you need, but are they going to be a cultural fit to you? Are they going to really be? Because I've made some mistakes in recruiting people that I met, and boy, I really fell in love with them. I just connected with them and boom, brought them in, but they were not a cultural fit to our culture.
Right.
So we're very intentional about all these aspects. I go through about how to build a strong bench, one of the chapters in here, because I used the illustration that 1 year I was coaching college level. I went through 3 quarterbacks in one game. All 3 of them got knocked out. I did not have a 4th quarterback.
Yeah, sounds like the NFL this year. They're bringing people from everywhere, bringing 40-something.
I didn't have a taxi squad. I could grab one up. So I grabbed this kid that was a running back who I knew had played some quarterbacking in high school. And I grabbed him. I said, hey, his name was Dano. I said, Dano, you're quarterback now. And he looked at me like, what I'm going to do? I said, we're going to run a quarterback sweep right and a quarterback sweep left. And we did. And luckily, we won the game. But you've got to have a deep bench. If you're going to know how to build that bench, how to recruit the right type of team members. And so oftentimes, we're looking outside when really we need to be looking inside of what God's already got there. Because when you can build up leaders and be intentional about building a leadership pipeline internally Even I've told guys that are pastoring small churches, don't wait till you get, quote, bigger where you can hire staff.
Right.
Start developing the leaders you have right in your midst right now. So I talk a little bit about in the book about how, we not only have a college like you do, a Milestone College, but we also have a great leadership college.
Right.
That is we're mining young leaders. So we get kids in there from high school on up.
Yes.
Up into their 50s, 60s are
Yes.
in this. And we have an intentional training program because the pace of your vision will be totally dictated by the level of your leadership development.
That's so true. I think a lot of leaders out there think if I had a different place, if I had a little more provision, and what you really learn long term is what you're talking about, Coach. God brings the resources, the opportunities come, the buildings. I think a lot of times we're very myopic in thinking this is my biggest barrier, but really it's about that team leader. It's the leader.
Team.
It's the people that you're building and developing.
Right. I remember years ago, I was talking with Chris Hodges that we all know and love and the great ministry that Chris has built and the college that he's built. But he made this simple statement that is basically said, never let your vision outpace your leadership development.
Yeah.
And that's what we're saying. So I talk a lot in the book about how not only build a strong team and strong bench, but then how to empower them.
Right.
And how to really do that in a way that you can really help them develop that trust and credibility in their leadership as they go. And I think that's an essential element. And then have a scoreboard. I'm big about having a scoreboard. I want to keep score. I keep score. I'm competitive. I keep score. But I'm keeping score of the things that are indicators of health, indicators of strength, indicators of growth, because that's what we want to keep score on, because that helps us know where we are. And I want everyone on our team growing. That's why I keep wanting to grow. I went back, Jeff, as you know, you got your doctorate degree from Southeastern University. I went back to Southeastern, and I had a doctorate degree already from Liberty, but I went back for I wanted to get a PhD in organizational leadership. Now, I'm like 70 years old at the time, and I go in before the committee, and they look at me, and they're going like, they're looking at this guy going, what's this old guy doing here? And so, they asked me the question, what are you doing this for? You're already a leader. You travel the world. You're with Maxwell. You're in this, you're in that, and boom, 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 the church. I said, no, guys, you don't understand. I said, if I'm going to be credible as a leader for those that God's called me to influence, I've got to show them I'm still growing.
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm not growing and pushing myself, and I'm doing this to push myself and to force me to grow. And I said, I'm trying to help churches that are hitting natural barriers and they're trying to transition through them and grow. So that's why I want to do it in organizational leadership, because I want to help them. I want to pour into them. I want to give them the tools they need and understand some of the systems and support structure they need in order to make these moves and be prepared for all that God's doing. And so they said, okay. So I went, pressed through, and it was 3 tough years, but I pressed through it. But that is the indication. I want to keep growing.
Yeah, and you were my mentor and helped me get my doctorate, and it's just that was so inspiring to me to think you're taking those steps. What do you think, Coach? If you're looking at currently the challenges young leaders are facing. Yeah. Because I do think there's not only is this book on time and the truths are timeless, right? Because they're based on Scripture, but you see, I said this recently with a group of pastors. I actually think the leaders leading tomorrow have to be better than you. Oh yeah, and have to be better than me, because they're facing a new level of dynamic challenges.
I tell you, the challenges facing our leaders today is just me. I have a chapter. I have 2 chapters that really help on this, really focus on this, and the one is a whole chapter I did on integrity. Because there's nothing more important for us as leaders to guard our integrity, and we're being bombarded every day by the enemy of our soul trying to destroy us with so much out there, and what we're exposed to today that we weren't exposed to years ago, and the challenges and how to build the right safeguards in your life, in your ministry, that will keep you in a position where God continue to pour His Spirit in you and through you for the mission ahead. But that challenge, because I hate to read any of Barna's stats because they're so depressing.
Right.
But when I recently read some things that Barna had posted about what young ministers were facing, what they're dealing with, and what they're struggling with, and struggling with pornography, and I'm going, oh my goodness gracious, struggling with things, and then discouragement and depression and the anxiety. I'm going, oh my goodness gracious, was I raised in a bubble? What's the deal? Our generation was different. We weren't as exposed to as much as the generations are now.
Well, I started at 21, and there was no cell. When I started, cell phones it was a few years before people had cell phones, right? So you're before me, but even for me, it's a radical change because it's not just the safeguarding, and this goes for ministry leaders or anyone, the safeguarding related to take pornography. The accessibility, you had to go to a store somewhere, go to a place. Now there's just all this being fed. That's obvious, and I think that there are leaders out there that probably could be struggling with things that they need a mentor, they need somebody to say, hey, will you pray with me? You help us come together and overcome this. But I do believe, even outside of these obvious evil, sin, demonic, you just have the whole of social media and what people say.
The pressures. I mean, the pressures now and the criticism and the things that happen. I mean, and everything you have now is boom out there, and everybody's got an opinion. They can take a shot at you, and I have a chapter on there on and actually how to lead through times of crisis.
Oh, I love that.
Because you're going to face crisis in your ministry. If you're doing anything significant for the Lord, you will face crisis. I use David at Ziklag as one of my examples that he battled. And then the other thing about criticism, how to deal with criticism, because we all face that, and that's a hard thing for any of us to process and handle, especially young leaders that they're out there, really getting after it, and then suddenly they get all this criticism going, well, how do I process this? And I talk a little bit about that.
I mean, you've helped me. I mean, we walked through COVID, then we've walked through a very interesting cultural time the last several years of probably some of the most extreme polarization in our culture of
around our elections and around all the things.
I mean, and as pastors, we're by nature, we don't compromise the truth, but by nature, the pastor in town is the unifier. He's the pulling people together, right? And so you build a following by being radical in statements online and things. And so a lot of times for a pastor, it can feel like, man, I don't even know how to win. I'm losing on all fronts. I mean, you've been an encouragement to me through these different seasons. I just recently was talking with a pastor. He goes, so what do you do? I think we are unwavering on preaching the word of God.
Yes.
We are unwavering on what is right and what is wrong. But I do believe people say I kind of have a lot of I'm calling pastors back to being pastors, because the nature of a pastor is we speak the truth in love.
Yes.
The lost people of our community know that we love them. And by the way, even those who are enemies and disagree with us, we love them too, right? So we're this voice in the community. And so I just want to encourage maybe somebody out there, a pastor who it's kind of interesting. It just feels like it may not be true. The pastor has had it the worst in the last several weeks. You know what I mean? It's kind of
hey, listen, as I've talked to several guys, and even at Christ Fellowship, I mean, and talking with Todd, and no matter what the issue is around certain issues, when a national issue comes up, if you don't speak strong enough for it or strong enough against it or strong enough here or strong enough there, you will have your critics.
Right.
And most of them aren't even in your church.
Right.
They're just watching and blasting from the outside.
Or building anything a lot of times.
Yes.
No offense.
So it's just you have to know how to process it. I try to talk a little bit about that in here.
What is your main thing with crisis, Coach? Like, how do we think about? I'm not just saying those issues are always a crisis, but I mean, I don't think we've done enough review of, say, the global pandemic. I mean, you talk about never having led through something. I mean, that season of time.
Oh my goodness,
that was new for all of us, right?
My goodness. Hey,
so
whoever thought our doors would ever be shut? I don't think you guys shut them in Texas.
Yeah.
But they, I almost transferred to Texas during that COVID. I said, look, I'm gonna go be at Milestone.
I mean, really though, like crisis, challenge, pressure seasons. What are some guiding thoughts for us? Like, how do we need to think about this as a leader? Because we can really lose our way in those. Like,
see, that gets back to the fundamentals. Really, I mean, it gets back to if the strength of your preparation for any crisis, comes in your daily disciplines.
Yes,
and those daily disciplines of your prayer life, of your time in the Word,
right,
of the strength of your marriage, the strength of your family, all those things are underlying strengths. And it's in those times that you have to really be anchored in that reality. And then the relationships that you have, the kingdom partnerships you have.
Yeah.
I've been blessed, Jeff, that I've always had strong men around me, and I've always had strong families around us, but we were very intentional to build those relationships. I always gravitated to strong men of faith. And I have a chapter, my final chapter in here is about be a leader worth following.
I love that.
Which is one of my favorite chapters because in that chapter, I talk about 6 men who have had major impact on my life who I have on my accountability shelf up there in an inspiration corner. I call it inspiration and accountability. I have up there, starting with my great-grandfather, my grandfather, and
I loved it because I was looking through it because you showed a lot of pictures.
I did.
You have you with Dr. Graham,
I
Dr.
put a
Billy
picture
Graham.
of Dr. Graham, Dr. Bright,
Dr. Bright,
founder Campus Today for Christ. But there's a trait that each of them that stood out to me. But here's what I found. When I would go to men like that, I had men to go to in times of crisis that could really pray with me, counsel me, reinforce in me the strength that's in the Lord. We so desperately need that. The worst thing we can do in times of crisis is isolate or insulate ourselves. Because that can be a tendency. Because when criticism comes or we're in a moment of real pressure, we pull back from it. Reality, we need to lean into it, but we need to lean into it locked in arm with other strong men and women of faith.
Which, as we were preparing for this, that was one of your passion points for the young leader. Because I believe this book, is a way to transfer some of that wisdom to us. I think they can get it. But what you're saying is there's also the very practical reality that I say it this way, you're preparing your relationships today for your crisis of tomorrow.
Yes, you are.
It's like you're practicing, you're a football coach. You can tell who worked out in the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter reveals everybody's their endurance.
You better be in shape when crisis hits.
There you go.
And when the pressure's on in the fourth quarter, we got 2 minutes to go and we're trailing, we got to have a score.
Yeah.
Baby, you better suck it up and be ready to get tough. But that's all based on your preparation for that moment. To be there. So it happens in those disciplines. And I talk a little bit, I give them my four A's about criticism.
Okay.
I said, number one, anticipate it. It's coming.
It's coming.
I don't care whether you think you deserve it or not. It is coming. But with every criticism, I always try to analyze it.
Okay.
Say, do I have a blind spot here that I'm not seeing?
That's good.
Sometimes criticism actually reveals a blind spot, and it can be a very good thing.
That's good.
And then if there's an adjustment I need to make, let's be honest enough to make the adjustment.
There you go.
But then the final A is accelerate.
Yeah.
Now, we're not going to sit here and spin my tires in this criticism and in this problem. I'm going to get
forward.
on. I'm going to move on.
Right.
I'm not going to let that hold on to me. I'm going to forget what and I got to press forward and pressing. But there is a pressing because isn't it amazing how a word of encouragement is there, and it's good. But a word of criticism, oh my gosh, it lingers with you.
It lingers. It's
hey,
true.
I've been watching some of the football playoffs and everything else I do, and boy, we missed a field goal to win the game, and this kid from Ohio State, and I'm going, that will live with him the rest of his life.
Yeah.
He's going to have to carry that burden the rest of his life. I mean, we who play sports, we can still remember. I remember the first time I'm a freshman and I'm starting on defense in my high school team, and I'm the backup punter. And so the punter, he got hurt. Mullins, get out there and punt. So I run out there. I said, I'm going to kick the longest punt in the history of this high school. And they snap me the ball. I take the ball. I run over. Whew.
Charlie Brown?
I swung as hard as I could, miss the ball. I fell off my butt. I'm back on my backside. And I mean, to this day, I'm talking about, I'm 80 years old. I'm talking about missed the punch.
Wow.
You know, in a high school game when I'm a freshman.
Yeah.
So that's something that we have to really battle. It's like when Paul says, you know, demolish every argument and every pretension of the enemy, you know, take every thought captive and make it subject to Christ. And we have to put those things in practice all the time when we're processing criticism and crisis.
So good. Well, Coach, I'm excited about this book. I had it over. I just had a break with our kids and my family where we come together and we think about our year and we think about where God wants us to give and where He wants us to serve and kind of re-up as a family and pray. And I had it sitting right there. I was talking to my kids about it, and I just love you so much. I'm so thankful you put. I urged you and keep encouraging you to get this stuff there.
You have for years. That book has been a process of many years. Actually, I finally was able to get it together, and
I just believe it's going to add value. It's going to be a huge blessing. Thank you for who you are in my life. We're excited with even the Lead to Win podcast and the resources of Lead to Win. We want to incorporate this into getting it into the hands. What kind of just final exhortation, encouragement to a leader would you want to give that's out there? Because we have, you know, again, we have church family, people that are part of our church. We have people in business. We have our college. We have intern young people in ministry, a lot of pastors. What would you want to say to them?
Well, I think it all starts with, if I had one final message, I would say it all starts with your personal integrity. Walk in personal integrity. You know, John Maxwell asked me an interesting question 2 years ago. When we were celebrating our 40th year in ministry, and he called me. He said, "Tom, if you had to put in one short sentence your legacy, what would you want it to be?" And I'm going, "Wow, I never really thought about one short sentence of what my legacy would be." And then I started thinking about my grandfather. What was his legacy? And I said, my grandfather was a man of integrity who called the champion out in others.
Love it.
And I said, I want to be known as a man of honor, a man of integrity that called the champion out in others. And I think that we live out our legacy each day now.
Yes.
And guarding that integrity, always looking how you can call the champion out in others.
Yes.
And when you call the champion out in others, you will never have to be concerned about having enough champions around you.
So true.
To help you fulfill the mission God's called you to.
That's so true.
Because you're one of the champions that I'm blessed to run with now. And you've drafted off me a little bit, but Jeff, I feel like I'm drafting off you now. And I love it that we have that. But I think to be so intentional about exposing yourself to great leaders and to leadership opportunities like you have with Lead to Win, it is so critical. I love it. I love what you're doing. I love that atmosphere. And I would just challenge guys, get out there, get engaged, keep growing, guard your integrity, and be there where you're hang with the champions, and then call out the champions in others.
We love you, Coach. Thank you for this time. We're excited about your new book, Coach's Playbook. It's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you, Jeff. God bless.
I want to say thank you for checking out this episode of the Lead to Win podcast. I want you to know that I love and my team loves getting this kind of content into your life so it can help you lead and win at what matters most. So I'd love for you to do me a favor, like, comment, especially subscribe if you would, so that we can make sure that we're able to get to you some of the things that are going to help you lead to win.